Hi guys, I thought it'd be cool to start sharing some of the old studio session guitar work I've done. In this first episode, I'll show you some of the music that never made the light of day. This first track was a collaboration between myself and local composer Colin O'Malley. Colin is sort of the John Williams of the Southeast. He's an awesome guy and an amazing composer, and he's gone on to do a ton of video game work. This was Colin's first foray into getting into the video game world. This was basically a demo for Activision that was a bid in order to get the contract to compose the music for an open-world Wild West shooter game. You may be familiar with it. Please check out the song, and when we're done, I'll tell you about some of the production behind it. Okay, so let's talk about some of the production in the track. What Colin had me do was do a bunch of different sounds that he could cut and paste, and so I did a lot of little feedback notes and also like volume swells with the guitar. The feedback stuff, because at the time I was recording direct, it's very hard to get feedback going that way. I was actually using an EBO. So in EBO, you can use the like the normal mode, which will just sustain it normally, or you can use a harmonic feedback mode. If you use the harmonic feedback mode and use the guitar on the bridge pickup and use some distortion, if you move it closer and farther away from the neck pickup, it'll cross over and do different harmonic overtones like feedback. So that's how I was doing all of the, the folk kind of feedback in there. The other part is the acoustic. The acoustic was a Ovation Celebrity Deluxe mic'd with an AKG C1000S microphone. It's basically pretty inexpensive gear, and somehow we made that stuff work. And Colin edited that all together. The other funny part is if you hear the Native American chieftain voice in there, that's actually me, and the wind chimes were chimes off of my parents' porch at the time that I attached to my ceiling and mic'd. So it's all sorts of DIY stuff, and Colin put it all together. Anyway, that's it for that track. This next track was also part of the Activision project. However, it was my own composition. Colin and I were trying different ideas on our own, and then we would come together and collaborate in order to decide how we could build the track. Okay, so let's discuss some of the production of the track. The coolest thing about the track is the neat synthesizer intro. I was kind of going for a good, the bad, and the ugly kind of vibe. At the time, I was using a Hot Rod Deluxe and a tone bone distortion pedal, and I was running it into a Hughes and Kettner red box and direct into my computer at the time. I was kind of doing this weird jerry-rigged thing where I would take the line out of that the red box speaker simulator and run it into a Boss DD6 for ping pong delay, and so you're hearing that on each one. Now, what's happening is I'm volume fading in each note that you hear, and in the computer I'm mixing how much of the tail overlaps. But the really interesting thing is, because the delay was printed, each of the fades aren't, the whole thing isn't cumulatively going through delay. You're hearing the delay on the one note ping pong a little bit and then be faded out as the other one overlaps. So it creates a really weird, unusual effect, which is really cool. The other part is it's the same acoustic and mic setup I talked about in the first one. But the thing I should mention is if you're ever miking an acoustic guitar, if you look at an Ovation Celebrity, it doesn't have a sound hole. It has a bunch of holes on the top and bottom like that. And so if you ever have a guitar with holes in a weird place, what seems to work is if you sort of draw a line between the cluster of the holes and put the mic in between that, it mics good. And somehow it made a great sound. I don't know how I achieved that. This final track was a pretty hastily thrown together sound-alike mock-up of Crazy Train. Even though I generally hate doing sound-alikes because it's tough to have them not sound lame, I think the solo actually came out pretty cool. So check it out and we'll talk about the production afterwards. Okay, so let's talk about the production of the track. I think the coolest thing from a production standpoint of the track is what was going on in the solo. Randy would triple track his guitar solos. So he would play the same exact part 3 times, and in my opinion, you start to get phase cancellation that's happening there that you can hear in the track. It creates kind of a thinning effect. Now, I didn't really have the patience for a demo that I wasn't getting paid for to sit there and triple track my solo, but I did double track it. What I did do to get some phase cancellation, though, is, as I mentioned before, I would take the analog speaker simulator and run it into a Boss DD6 delay. Well, a lot of delays have the option where you can send dry out one side and affect it out the other. So what you could do on that delay is set the echo time so slow that it would sound like a static flange or phaser that wouldn't move. And then those were mixed together, and that would go to the recording device. And then that's what I did on both of those to get that tone. So that's kind of cool. The other part that's different in the production is that at this point I had moved on from using a Hot Rod Deluxe as a clean pedal platform with a distortion pedal to a PV-JSX. So all the distortion was coming from that, and I was now using a Radial Engineering analog speaker simulator. Other than that, the thing to keep in mind is What's difficult about doing sound-alike music, as opposed to music that's, that's in the style, is that you have to change everything a little bit, riff, rhythm, everything, so that you're legally safe to use that without copyright infringement. But then the problem is everyone mentally remembers how that song went, so it's very hard for your part not to sound cheesy or lame in any way. So if I had actually gotten the bid to do the music for the film, I probably would have redone a lot of the riff to make it sound cooler, and definitely it wouldn't have the complete, temporary cheesy drums and bass in that. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.